Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Wine Alive tasting of fortified wines. And how festive does that feel? What a brilliant time of year to be talking about this style of wine. Cold, dark evening. There's nothing better, is there? So, I'm Susy Atkins. I'm delighted to be hosting tonight's webinar. I hope you've all got your wines ready. I have, they're all here, beautiful colors for a start. What a gorgeous collection of jewels we've got. So fortified wines, then, I know most people will know this already, but for anyone that doesn't, a fortified wine is a wine, a table wine to which spirit has been added. And we're going to find out a lot more about how that's done and the different techniques that result in this very diverse selection of styles, actually, that we've got tonight. From the producers and the representatives themselves. We've got 6 people lined up to talk to us about each one for each wine, which is brilliant. It's great to have the experts in the room, and I can't wait to hear from them. I've been to Jerez in Andalusia in southern Spain, where they make sherry, Jerez sherry, many times, and to the Douro in Portugal, in northern Portugal, inland from Porto, many times as well. And in fact, very recently I was there this autumn. So I'm a huge enthusiast for these styles of wines. I think they do benefit from some explanation. So what we're going to be telling you about, or my guests are going to be telling you about, is we'll do some food matching tips. We'll do how to serve, how long you can keep them after opening. We get asked that a lot. Temperatures of serving, lots and lots of different things in and around each one of the wines. There is a chat facility. So if you'd like to ask questions, please do make sure you're asking everyone, the tab that says everyone. We will attempt to get back to you if we see it and have time, and I hope we will. But if there are any outstanding questions, we promise to get back to you by email or some other way to answer all the questions after the event. So we're mainly looking at port this evening. We've got 5 ports, as you all should know. So we're going to spend a lot of our time up the Douro Valley in northern Portugal with very different styles of port, because I think one mistake a lot of people make is to think that all port tastes the same because they've only tried one type, or all sherry tastes the same because they've only tried one type, when actually both styles of wine come in very, very different, diverse interpretations. But we're going to start with sherry. I think over the years, sherry has given me more pleasure than virtually anything in the world of wine, sherry and port. Actually, I'm a huge fan. So I think we're going to introduce now Sylvia Flores from Gonzalez Byass. Hello, Sylvia.
Hi,
And we're
Susie.
going to talk about and taste the Viña AB 12-year-old
Yeah,
Amontillado Seco. A lot to say there. Obviously from Jerez
you say
in southern
perfect.
Spain. Welcome, Sylvia.
Thank you. Thank you, Susie. And thanks for having me today.
And
Hello.
there you are. Look at you in the bodega.
Yeah, in the bodega, in the Solera system of Viña Ave. Indeed.
Abe. That's how we should pronounce
Ave.
it.
Yeah.
And
It's
I mean, I can smell almost, I can imagine the scent that you've got there in that cellar, the wonderful scent of sherry slumbering in its oak barrels, and that lovely, lovely cellar dustiness that you get. It's gorgeous down there.
yeah, that's it, the magic of sherry. When you pour in a glass, all the place, all the room smell and the
Yeah,
essence of sherry wine, isn't
it's
it?
a really, sherry is very intense, isn't it? It's intense aromas, intense flavors. But I think what a lot of people don't realize, I'm sure most of our guests do, but we have to spread the message, is that sherry can come in so many styles, from bone dry to super, super sweet and everything in between. But you have brought us tonight, I hope everyone's sipping this now. Get going, folks, if you haven't already. I have a dry, this is our only dry wine for tonight, because all the ports are sweet, of course. So
Yeah.
we have an Amontillado Seco, Seco meaning dry. Please tell us about how you make this wine, because it's quite a process.
I'm really happy to present something a little different today because this is a sherry, and all my colleagues are from Port, and, and not just any sherry, but one of the most expressive and surprising styles we make, Amontillado Viña Ave. So before we dive into the wine, Susie, I'd like to give you a very quick introduction to my region.
Brilliant.
Yeah, because if you haven't been to Jerez, imagine a landscape full of light, very sunny, mild winters, hot summers, and high humidity thanks to the Atlantic Ocean. And we also have one of the earliest harvests in Spain, in the peninsula, usually in the first week of August.
I mean,
In
just to hold on that for a moment. It's fascinating. People think it's way into the autumn, but no, I mean, that's incredibly early summer.
Yeah, the first week of August,
Yeah.
yeah, we start the harvest. Yeah. So in our region, we produce sweet wines from a grape called Pedro Ximénez, and our dry styles came from our most representative grape, Palomino Fino. Thanks to this grape, we can create several dry sherries, such as Fino, our brand is called Tío Pepe,
Mm. Tio
Amontillado,
Pepe, everyone's familiar with that wonderful wine.
yeah, Tío Pepe, Isafino, Amontillado, Oloroso, and Palo Cortado. All these styles are made of Palomino Fino grape. And one of the key things to understand about sherry is that we use two different aging methods. The first will be oxidative aging, when the wine matures in American oak casks, and that are never completely full. So the contact with the oxygen darkens the wine and brings out those lovely toasted and
So
nutty
whenever we get
aromas.
this sort of a color or even darker, it's oxidation because the
Yeah,
barrel isn't full, and so the oxygen has browned the wine, really.
that's
Deliberately.
right. And the second way will be biological aging, when the wine at around 15% of alcohol develops a natural layer of yeast that
Of
we
yeast
call flor.
floor, the floor yeast that is a natural
It's a natural
property
develop
of your
of
part of
yeast.
Spain. You can't get that everywhere, but naturally the blanket of yeast that forms on top of the wine,
That's
called
right.
floor, occurs in Andalusia, in Jerez.
And thanks to the architecture of the bodega, so thanks to the temperature, the humidity in our cellars, this floor creates a protective layer and influences the wine in three main ways. So it keeps the color very pale, like in a fino, right?
Like in a Tio Pepe, which is
Like in a Tio
very, very
Pepe, that's
pale.
right.
So no
It
oxidation.
gives it gives the wine a sharp, delicate aroma, and it consumes the all remaining sugar. That's the key, making the wine completely dry.
And when do you add the spirit? Because there is an element of spirit, of course. This is a fortified
Yeah.
wine.
So this is a fortified wine. We added a neutral alcohol spirit to increase the alcohol to 12, 13, depends of the harvest, to 15, because 15 to 16 alcohol by volume is where the floor, this layer, can survive.
And I think, it is obviously stronger than most table wines, but not ridiculously so. We can get
No,
14 and a half, 15% table wines.
yeah,
So when people say sherry is really strong, some of it isn't. It's stronger than most table wine, but not ridiculously powerful. And there's a delicacy to this, I think. But tell us, how is this wine, this particular, the AB Amontillado Seco, related to Tio Pepe?
so another essential element of sherry and of Amontillado Tío Pepe is the dynamic aging sherry system, because we call soleras and criaderas. You can see the soleras and criaderas, and because these are not a vintage wine, right? We blend younger wines with older ones to create a consistent signature year after year. We're looking for a style, not a wine depends of the year, right?
So there's no
Okay.
variation. If you're buying Tio Pepe or buying this wine, it will taste the same year on year because you're blending fractional amounts of older wines with younger wines to create the house
That's
style.
right.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if a wine it starts aging under floor, continues aging for a much longer period of time, something fascinating happens because the floor gets weaker over the years and nutrients decrease, right? And eventually the yeast layer disappears. When the floor dies, the yeast cells fall to the bottom of the cask and integrate with the wine, giving it more body and roundness. And once the floor is gone, oxidation takes over.
So this is a fino, a pale
A fino.
Tio Pepe style that has been allowed to age a long time. The floor has died, and so the oxygen has started to make a process. And so you get this incredible complexity. I mean, there are so many words I want to say about this to describe it.
So this is how a fino slowly transforms into an amontillado.
Amontillado. So medium richness, but dry on the finish, no sugar.
And that brings us to the wine of today, Amontillado Viña. This wine has an average age of 12 years, Susie, which means it actually began its life as Tio Pepe, that we said, as a fino, and gradually evolved into an amontillado.
I mean, that's fascinating. So the various processes that are at work here, the Palomino grapes, the interaction of the yeast floor, the interaction of the oxidation, the aging process, the oak cast. There's a heck of a lot going on to make this wine. And a long time.
12 time. So 12 years.
12 years average. Yeah, of the mixture of the
average. It's an average. That's right.
So let's have a taste. I already have tasted it, to be honest, but let's go back in.
Look at the color. We have an amber color. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely pale amber. Bright.
On the nose.
I mean, the sherry is incredibly aromatic. If it isn't aromatic, it's not a good sherry. And this is amazing scent. So everyone, if you haven't already, do give this a good swirl and stick your nose in. It's glorious.
So gentle aromas.
I mean, I'm getting kind of pecans, nuttiness.
Hazelnut, almonds.
Bit of orange.
Yeah. And a touch of this American oak casks.
Yeah, a little bit of wood spice. And it almost smells as if there's a very light caramel, but then on the palate, it's completely dry. So that's fascinating.
Honey, caramel. Yeah. So on the palate, it has more weight, more texture than a fino. That's right. And a very, very long and savory finish.
I mean, the finish is, the impression we're left with at the end, it goes on and on and on. And I reckon if we're not going on to taste other wines, I would still be tasting this in 20 minutes time. It's just the acidity is incredible, I think, because it's fresh and it's slightly salty and incredibly refreshing.
But indeed, the acidity is not too high. It's low acidity, but you can feel the salinity.
But it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's salty, it's saltiness. So this low acidity, toasted notes, and this long finish make it perfect match for umami rich foods.
Oh, the savory characteristic.
The savory.
Okay. Well, so just before you tell us about the food, just to say this is chilled. We suggested that people chilled this. You can have it at room temperature, can't you, if you want? But it's recommended to chill.
It's recommended to chill at around, I said, 12 or 10, 12 degrees. And for the glass, a small white wine glass works perfectly.
Yeah, don't use those horrible little sherry schooners that were once popular in the UK.
Not a tiny
proper wine glass.
Not a tiny sherry copita, please. So because this wine really opens up with a bit of earth.
Yeah, you don't want the little vicar's tea party, tiny little things. Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted you. Food matching. Is this you could drink this on its own, but I think it's going to shine with food.
Okay.
Someone's already suggesting charcuterie.
For sure. Charcuterie, grilled dishes, roasted vegetables, smoke flavors, even something as simple as a mushroom soup,
Oh,
for instance. You can combine with a glass of Amontillado, but if you pour um, a tiny Amontillado into the soup,
oh my God, you're pouring Amontillado into a soup. Wow.
yeah, try
And a
that.
consomme, a mushroom soup,
And a
anything like that. But
consomme.
nothing sweet. I wouldn't pair this with anything sweet. It's not
No,
going to go with chocolate. It's not going to go with very, very sweet, sugary things. It's to me, it's for savory food, as you said. Cheeses. What about cheese?
this is it's fantastic, like a aperitif wine with tapas, olives, cured meats, charcuterie, oily fish,
Ah,
like
okay.
tuna,
Yeah.
and yeah, honestly, it's the kind of wine you can even enjoy while cooking at home.
Well, I would very much enjoy it while cooking at home. I'm thinking mushroom risotto with lots of parmesan.
Oh yeah, and
That'd be good.
truffle. Try with truffle.
Truffles.
Yeah.
I mean, as you said, it's umami, isn't it? So, I mean, I think we're all enjoying this very much, assuming we want to spend a long time over days or weeks to drink it. How long can we keep it, Sylvia, after opening?
Mm, yeah. So the sherry wines, in general, it's a better choice to keep in your fridge, right? Because
Reseal, stop her back
yeah,
in the fridge.
yeah, yeah. So you can. It's very easy to store, right? You can just keep the bottle in the fridge, and it will stay in the great condition, even 3 or 4 months.
I think, oh, 3 or 4 months. Wow, that is a long time. It
Yeah,
certainly
because
won't last that long at my house.
it's very stable. It's very stable wine, and thanks to the oxidative aging.
Absolutely. And I think, in traditionally in this country, in UK, people have put sherry in decanters. They keep them for months in somewhere warm,
Yeah,
even in the
you don't need
sun. We don't want
to
to do that.
rush
Want to
it.
seal
You
it in
can,
the fridge.
yeah, you can enjoy just a small glass from time to time, and it's perfect.
I don't think we need to make so much fuss about these wines. We don't have to go through all those rituals. I mean, as Sylvia is saying, Sylvia, by the way, comes from a very, very prestigious family of
Oh,
winemakers. Her father, Antonio Flores, and your grandfather were winemakers, are
yeah,
winemakers at Gonzalez Byass. So you know what you're talking about. But we need to, yeah, stop with them, bring them out again. Don't worry so much about them, because I think people get all worried and they have to put them in a decant. You don't decant sherry, do you? Do you decant it?
no, no, it's
No.
not necessary.
We're going to come to some wines that do need decanting, but I think with sherry, you can just keep it in the
Not
bottle.
with sherry.
It's a beautiful wine. Thank you so much.
Thank
You
you,
should be very proud.
Susie.
I'm sure you're very proud of it. And can I also add, as a consumer wine writer, journalist, I think sherry like this is incredibly well priced. I mean, this comes in properly under £20 for
Yeah,
what is
20
really
pounds
one of
per bottle.
the world's great classic wines,
Yeah,
Amontillado sherry.
yeah.
I mean, how many of the great wines of the world can you get for that sort of price? And it will last for a long time. So it's a fantastic buy at Christmas and all year round. Thank you so much for showing it to us.
Thank you,
And
Susie, for
give my
having me.
best to everyone in Jerez. And have a happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas from
Thank you
Jerez.
so much,
Greetings
Sylvia.
from Jerez, and
Thank you so
yes,
much.
everyone.
So, Sherry, my goodness,
Salud.
what a start.
Salud.
I hope you all have a lot. Give my best to your father. Okay, so we're going to move to port now, rapidly moving to the north and to the west, up to northern Portugal, inland from the city of Porto, where we come to the amazing and traditional, long established vineyards of the Douro Valley, one of the most spectacular wine regions in the world that you can visit. And hello, Carla. It looks like you're in the bodega as well.
Yes, I am. Hi, Susie.
Quinta, we should say.
Not in Quinta. I'm in Villanova de Gaia in our cellars.
Okay, Carla Tiago from Kopke, welcome. And you are in the place across the river from Porto, where port is sent to age, Villanova de Gaia.
Exactly,
I
exactly.
was there in September. It's a great place to visit. Beautiful city either side of or two cities either side of the river.
It's true. And here in Vila Nova de Gaia, you have this old tradition of keeping our ports in our cellars asleep for some time to make sure that they are in perfect shape when we are going
This is
to
a
bottle
tasting
them.
with a lot of sleeping wines in it. I think every
Yeah.
wine that we're having, well, I know every wine we're having has been slumbering, I like to say, in barrels, maturing, evolving. This is not a tasting for people that like youthful wines that have just been made. These are wines that take time.
A lot of time. A lot of time,
But
and
you go
yeah.
on.
And especially is for the colheitas, the ones that they will live all their life in the barrels until the time they are going to be bottled, and we only bottle them by demand of the client. So
When they're ready, this wine is bottled ready to drink.
yes, ready to drink.
So Kopke, I was a guest of yours in September for 2 days, stayed at the new brilliant hotel that you've founded on the edge of the river at Villanova de Gaia, looking over at Porto. And I'm really pleased with the wine that you've chosen to show us tonight because it's one of my favorites. It's a white port. And I think there'll be quite a few people joining in tonight that don't know a huge amount about white port. It's certainly not as commonly seen as any of the red or tawny ports. So it's the Kopke white Colheita. Do you say Colheita? I never know how to pronounce it.
Yes, colheita.
Colheita. I
Colheita.
wasn't too
Oh,
far.
lovely, lovely. Colheita.
2010. So 15 years.
Yes.
Carla, tell us, please, how this is made, because it's very different from the sherry process, isn't it?
It's completely different. So one of the things that that they have in common is the color. So it's like a goldy color, and they are aged in barrels. But here we never age our ports in new oak or wood barrel. So one of the things that it's very, very important is to make sure that we have the proper barrels to age these wines. So the vinification and the vines are in Douro Valley, about 150 kilometers
quite a long
from
way
Vila Nova de Gaia.
inland. You're almost at
Yeah.
the Spanish border at Salamanca, aren't you? You're heading that way.
We are in the middle of Douro,
Okay.
our winery.
Oh,
But
yes,
we
because
have,
the white grapes are grown a little bit further west.
yes,
Okay.
most of them. Of course, you have white grapes all over Douro. Most of the times in the highest place, the fresher ones, so the ones that are facing north or east. Okay, so places where you can you can have a good ripeness, but at the same time a good freshness and
You
good
need the
acidity.
acidity in the white ports, otherwise they'd just taste flabby and sweet, wouldn't they? They'd taste
Yes.
sugary. But you do have wonderful acidity in this. So the grapes are grown higher altitude generally. And are they picked earlier than the red grapes?
Yes, normally we always start our harvest with white grapes. Right now we start in August, but in 2010 we start the harvest at 5 of September.
Well, it gets
And
earlier and
since
earlier.
that time,
Yes,
since that time, many things changed, especially the date that we start the picking.
Now,
So
this isn't. We had one grape variety behind the sherry, Palomino, but in the case of white port, it's lots of different grapes, isn't it?
Completely different. So we have more than 100 different varieties, around 30 white, different ones. Most of them, all of them Portuguese, and most of them from Douro Valley. So that's one of the things that makes this wine so special and so magical. So you can use, and you never do like a port wine with only a single grape.
So in this case, I believe there's about 5 grapes.
5, yes. So 50% of this blend is made with Malvasia fina. It's perhaps the grape the variety that you find that it's more common in Douro Valley, especially in down Corgo. And then we have Viña. Viña is a grape that it's a very noble grape. Normally gives you good body, good flavors. It's very special. We also use Rebigato. That it's a grape that it's from Superior Douro, and and it has like a great acidity. So normally we always use a part of it to make our more noble blends. And then we have folgazão. Folgazão, it's a grape that it's not so known, but it's quite special. It has like beautiful flavors. It's very delicate, but at the same time, it has a great structure.
That's the folgazão.
Folgazão, yes.
This is a new one to me. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, and I still keep discovering new Portuguese grape varieties. I think people find it a bit, it's almost a bit overwhelming, but it's actually Portugal's great strength is its own treasure trove of indigenous grape varieties.
I truly believe that. I think that's one of the things that makes not only the port wines, but also the still wines so special and something to discover. And I think there are plenty of different things that you can have that are quite different from everything else. So
I mean,
folgazão is the same as terrantez in Madeira wines. It's the same grape, okay? And we use just a little bit of Código do Lourinho. So Código do Lourinho is it's a grape that has plenty of flavor. It doesn't have a high acidity, and we only use it a little bit just to make it, just to finish the final bouquet.
So like a bit of extra seasoning, and then you ferment it in vats.
Yes. So basically, we ferment it as a red wine with all the skins, and we'll have it in our lagard.
The color comes from oak, but it also comes from the skins, like an orange wine.
Yes, it helps. So basically, it's going to fermentate for like between 4 and 5 days at controlled temperature between 16 and 20 Celsius. And after that, when we reach the quantity of sugar that we want in the final wine, we are going to put the spirit.
And the spirit is a grape brandy.
Yes, always.
A pure grape spirit.
And 77% of alcohol, always. It's mandatory, okay? Most, and I think that only happen in port wine. All the rest can use different kind of alcohols and with 99 or 96% of alcohol.
And I was hearing actually how expensive that spirit has become, which is a challenge for producers because the amount of spirit you have to buy is getting very pricey.
Yes.
So at that point, the spirit kills the yeast and you're left with residual sugar. Yes. Always in port, aren't you? So we're immediately in the realm of sweeter wine now than the first one is our only dry wine. So you've got residual sugar left, but you've got strength. And I think this comes in, I'm going to look here, 20% alcohol.
Yes.
And so the spirit has added strength and it's killed the yeast. Therefore, you've got lovely grape sugar left.
Yes. Yes.
But then is the most important thing what happens after that, which is the aging.
Yes. So we are going to maintain the wines during the winter in Douro Valley, in our cellars there. And then in the end of February, beginning of March, we start to move them to Vila Nova de Gaia. At that time, we already know exactly what we are going to do with our wines. So after the harvest, we have to taste all the wines several times. We start to make the big blends. Basically, we are going to choose the ones that we are going to select to try to do a vintage, an LBV, a Colheita, and in the whites, basically we have to choose ones that are going for a reserve, a Colheita, a wine that it's going to age for a 10, 20, 30, 40.
So you make those selections before it comes down river to age at Vila Nova de Gaia. So
we do that
up in the Douro, and it's brought down the river.
And then when they arrive here, or in the beginning, we put them in big wood vats that we call balseiros. They are going to stay there for a few months. Sometimes the first year they are going to stay there. And after that, if it's a Colheita or a wine that it's going to age for a long time, like
I'm
10,
going to
20,
ask
30.
you, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think we've got Colheita on the bottle. We've both said it several times, you better than me. Could you define what that means, please? Because it is a question I get asked a lot. What is a Colheita?
So Colheita means harvest. Okay, it's like the vintage. Yes. So we have in port wines we have two words that means they mean the same thing, but the wine is aged in different way. So a Colheita and a vintage, and even an LBV, they are wines from one single year, but they are going to be aged in different ways. So for a Colheita, we are going to age them in barrels, in wood. And a vintage, we are going to bottle it 2 years after the harvest, and we are going to have, it's the only wine that we make in Kopke to age in a bottle. Okay, all the other wines, when we put them in a bottle, they are ready to drink. A vintage is a wine that the person that bought it can decide when to drink it, and they can keep it like for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years.
But this one is, you're supposed to drink it now. Can you keep this one?
Yeah, so what we do in the Colheita, it's a wine, basically it's a wine that aged in a barrel at least 7 years. So you can start to bottle it 7 years after the harvest. In Kopke, we only start to do it 10 years after. So every year we release 2 new Colheitas, a red and a white. So 2025, we release for the first time the 2015 red, the tawny, what we call a tawny, and the white. So 2010 was bottled for the first time in 2020. And we only bottle the quantity that our clients required, okay? So you can have this wine bottled in 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 24, and 25. This was bottled in 2025, okay? And every time that we bottle one of these wines, it's going to be quite unique, okay? So the one that you can have from 2020, if you compare it, a wine bottle in 2020 or a wine bottle in 2025, it's going to be quite different, okay? And you can always see the year of the bottling in the back label. We always put here when we bottle it. So you can always know how many years it stayed in the barrel, okay? So this is a wine that it's always changing. And every time that you are going to have it,
each one is different.
It's going to be different, yes.
So I love the fact that, I mean, we're getting, because of the sweetness, we're getting texture. There's quite a lot of body to it. It's very silky, very smooth. I love the sweetness. It's got good acidity to balance it out, and lots and lots of flavors. Really different from the sherry. I mean, really different.
Completely different.
Tell me what we should be looking for in this.
So here, the kind of oxidation or the aging that we are going to have here, it's completely different from the cherry. So also have barrels, okay, but they are completely full. We use very old wood, so basically we are going to have a very, very, very slow oxidation, and that is going to offer us a different kinds of flavors. So here we are going to have first of all, we have some fruitiness still, like some peach, some nectarines,
pineapple, like boiled sweet in a nice way.
We still have that, and at the same time, we start to have all the flavors that we are expecting from aging, an oxidative aging in a barrel. So we start to have some dry fruits like hazelnuts, some almonds. We also have some orange peel flavors. So it's something that it's always like you have the fresh fruit, but at the same time you start to have all the honey and honeycomb flavors that are so common in this kind of wines.
Kind of ripe pear in there as well, pears.
Yes.
It's just wonderful. Yeah. And we've suggested this is chilled. I think you always would serve this chilled. And
always chilled.
I know some people buy white port to top it up with tonic, to add a bit of mint and lemon, but with one this fine, one that's this age, do you do that, or do you drink it neat always?
Well, normally I drink it like that, but you can try it with tonic water.
You're not offended by the idea?
It's not this one that I use. I use normally a drier white port. They are simple, but you can use it with this. And with this, I really recommend like orange peel also. It's going to become great. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is like to challenge people to have these wines in different ways. So most of the people when think about port wine say, oh, Jesus, it's like my grandparents' drink. I don't want to have it. It's quite, sometimes it's not easy to put people trying different kinds of ports. But when you get it, when people really try it, normally they became quite surprised because we have such a big diversity of flavors and textures.
So in as many different ways as possible. Can you have this on ice, or is that a terrible thing?
Yes, why not? A big ice cube.
One big
ones. Yes, big ones. So you can have like not plenty of water in it, but you can do it. And I think people have to try it in different ways, even with different foods. We are used to drink like with desserts, of course. And normally people say like port wine is a dessert wine. No, it's a sweet wine, but it's not only a dessert wine. You can have it like with cheese, mature cheese for
Absolutely. Sure. And salted almonds, nuts,
and like with a spicy food, like Asian food. Normally, it's a good thing, like a green curry or something that is spicy and hot. Normally, it goes very well. Of course, the temperature is very, very important. So, one of the things that and it's one of our goals is always to have this great balance between sweetness and acidity. And when you get it, the truth is that these wines, you try them, they are sweet in the beginning, but in the finish, what you have is like freshness. And that's when you have that in a port. Yes, you want to keep drinking it. So if you have something spicy, something hot, I think it's going to work very, very well.
Well, it's a really fabulous wine, and I know that your porthouse, which is very venerable and very ancient as a porthouse, has a particularly strong reputation for its white ports. So thank you so much. It's a really special port, as I'm sure everyone is discovering. So thank you so much for explaining it to us, and I look forward to coming to your part of the world again soon. And if anyone here hasn't been, get on that plane to Porto. Get up the Douro. Visit these.
Come and visit us again and again. I think Porto. It's a very, very nice city. If you have time to go to Douro, it's a fantastic place. And normally Portuguese are quite good to receiving people. So
really
I hope
friendly
to see you soon.
Ambassadors. Thank you so much for bringing us to Portugal, and happy Christmas to you.
Thank you. Christmas. Happy Christmas.
Okay, thank you so much. So we've had our Amontillado Secco sherry. We've had our white port. I hope that had lots and lots of wonderful surprises for people tasting them at home. And we're going to move now into the first of our red ports. Hello, Anna from Gonzalez Byass.
From Quinta do Noval.
Quinta do Noval.
Directly from Porto to, let's switch to red ports. Thank you for having me.
We're going to go to our first red port, which is, I'm sure, people were expecting red ports, and here they are now. So we've got here the Quinta do Noval late bottled vintage 2018, unfiltered, which maybe we can touch on. So we're still in the same part of the world, but we're harvesting red grapes now and turning them into an LBV, late bottled vintage, which, while I sample your lovely wine, I'm going to ask you to explain, please, straight away what LBV is.
What does it mean? So Quinta do Noval is a winery also in the Douro Valley, like Kopke. We are entirely based in the Douro, though. So we don't age our wines in Vila Nova de Gaia or in Porto. We do everything in the Douro Valley. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
The largest mountain viticulture area in the world, so definitely a must visit. Noval, we are privileged to own 200 hectares of vineyards on one site. So our LBV, and this is quite unique because many times an LBV from a port house will be made with a blend of grapes from different quintas, from different wineries, or different terroirs, if you want, different sites. In this case, it's an expression of a single site,
single vineyard port,
which,
as you say, is unusual in terms of LBVs.
Yeah, so it's a single vineyard, and we also give it another twist, which is the fact that it's unfiltered. So that means that the wine will throw a sediment after a few years of aging in the bottle.
Okay, so we're on to the first one that you would suggest we decant.
Indeed, I would suggest decanting it if it was very old. So a 2018, even if I get to the end of this bottle, maybe not tonight because I'm on my own, but you'll see a very light sediment. So there's really no need to decant such a young port. But if you were opening an LBV that was 20 years old or 30 years old, because they can age for that long.
Oh gosh, yes, yeah.
They're not immortal, but they can age in the bottle for a long time. In the case of Quinta do Noval LBV, then you would have a sediment, and I would say it's
so when you decant a port, you're helping it to open up and aerate and soften down, but you're also pouring very carefully with an old one, so you don't you remove it from its sediment, and once you start seeing that come out.
Just to make sure, to be clear, the sediment doesn't taste bad, or it's not a negative thing, but it can feel weird on your palate when you don't want your guests to be. I
think especially at Christmas, people like to decant port anyway, because Christmas is the time of year when you bring out all the decanters and all the kind of.
It's such a special moment too when you decant a wine.
Exactly, it's a kind of ritual, which is great.
A bit of a show.
This is like the white port. This is a blend of lots of different Portuguese grape varieties.
Yes, so all indigenous Portuguese grapes, in this case red grapes. The main ones would be Touriga Nacional, Touriga Franca, Tinta Roriz, and Tinto Cão. I know it's hard to pronounce varieties. I would say Touriga Nacional is the most famous. It's Portugal's flagship red grape. It's the winemaker's favorite for sure, because it makes naturally small bunches. I call them bonsai berries, small berries that are concentrated in color, in flavor. It's a very complete grape variety. It gives you tannin, color, flavor, and it has quite unique aromas that you are now picking up on your glass.
Let's get tasting properly.
You get
so lovely, dense color, kind of very rich, dark purple.
Exactly. Yes, it's like a dark ruby. Not as dark maybe as a baby vintage, like a young vintage port that you wouldn't be able to see through the glass. You wouldn't be able to see your fingers through the glass, but pretty dark ruby. And then on the nose, you get those cherry, plum, flower,
blackberry.
Yes, it's quite a wild berry nose, pretty intense. Our LBV, being unfiltered, it also means that it's a bit more structured. It has a bit more volume. So it's a powerful, robust wine, but it will still be very smooth in the after.
It is. It has a smooth finish, but it's the first wine tonight where we have some tannins really coming into play.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, I'm going to go back to the LBV question. For people that don't know, could you explain the difference between a vintage port and a late bottled vintage port, please?
Yes. So late bottled vintage, we do 5 years of aging in cask before bottling, whereas with a vintage port, you typically do 2 years. 18 months, if I'm being very.
It is literally bottled later.
It is bottled later than
even though vintage ports are more expensive.
There's other differences. So the grape selection, we can say quality selection for a vintage port is very strict. So vintage port is the top grapes from a producer in a very good year, in a very good harvest, and typically more limited quantities. An LBV is a wine that we make every vintage in a slightly larger, it's our best seller, to be honest, in the UK, in slightly larger volumes compared to vintage, and it ages longer in cask.
So basically, the people buying it can drink it sooner, it's age more ready to drink. Whereas when you buy a vintage port, and we're going to get onto one next, they are the real long-lived ones that sometimes are not ready to drink when they're first released, but LBVs should be ready to drink when they're released.
LBV is ready to drink when it's released. Ours too. If you want to age it, you can also do that. It's optional. It's optional.
Yeah,
it comes with a long cork. Actually, I can show. Well, you don't have the full bottle today, but if you buy the full bottle, it comes with a long cork, so it can age in the bottle, laying down like you.
Yeah, lay down on its side.
like you would do with a vintage port.
Now, tell me about the subject of treading grapes by foot, which I have done up the Douro with Noval, I think, once. So how much port, honestly, is made in that traditional way where people jump into a big vat and start dancing around on the grapes?
In our case, it's all our ports.
I didn't know that.
Not just vintage port. Depending on the size of the port company, it could be just for the top categories, just for vintage port or for special cuvées. For Quinta do Noval, we tread all our ports by foot. We tread for a month.
Foot trodden.
Foot trodden, yes, foot trodden. I didn't do this one, probably. I try to do at least one evening per harvest, but we have a team that does it for a month and a half, depending on how.
And why is it better than machine?
It's just a very soft way of extracting color, tannin, and flavor. The human foot will not crush the seeds, so you will not get bitter oils. You've all had grapes, so you know that when you eat the grape seeds, it's quite bitter. It's not the most pleasant part of the grape. So when you crush with your feet, you never crush the seeds, and so you don't get any bitterness. The other reason is, of course, tradition. Quinta do Noval has had people treading grapes at night during the month of September since the early 18th century. So it would be really sad if we decided to stop now. So we do it for tradition and for quality. Yeah.
I tell you, folks, if you can get to the Douro during harvest, I was there during harvest in September, you can see some of this going on. And I think some places give people the opportunity to have a little go at it. I'm not sure that ends up in the final blend, but anyway, and there's it's a great atmosphere actually up the Douro during harvest. There's a lot of people there. There's a lot of partying going on. There's a lot of hard work, really backbreaking hard work, but there is a lot of music as people are treading the grapes. They play a lot of traditional music. People dance up and down the great big lagares, the big tanks that you step into and dance around in. It's a great time to visit. Probably the winemakers don't have so much time to talk to you, but I still suggest you go.
It's high season for us still, so we do host people during harvest. We don't have like a program where you can jump in the lagar and do it, because we have professional people doing the.
Other people don't know how to do it properly.
You're welcome to join in. We don't forbid you if you want to.
You will end up with purple stained toes for quite a long time afterwards, I find, but it is fun.
But doesn't come out.
This wine, because it is a serious wine, but again, I think value for money here, £26. That's not even on offer for a late bottle vintage from 2018, so 7 years old, from a really highly thought of, highly regarded,
and easy to find in the
incredible
UK
bargain.
Too. Yes. Port is still very good value. It's a wine that you can, as you said, drink now or keep for 10, 20 years, that you can get for under £30. And this one is well distributed. I will say you can find it at Waitrose, at Ocado, Master of Malt. So you won't find it difficult to find a bottle of our LBV in the UK.
And can you tell us what's your favorite food match for this particular wine?
I will say a classic one, which is just a piece of dark chocolate and a glass of LBV at the end of the day. It's the perfect way to relax. So very simple one. Of course, you can do more complicated ones. You can do blue cheese. Stilton is a classic in the UK.
We veer towards the cheese with port so often, but I'm right with you on the dark chocolate. I mean, what a little treat that is. A little bit of dark chocolate.
You can serve it also with brownies, with strawberry cheesecake. Okay. You can have it also with savory food, although you do need to be a bit more inventive. Game, so meat. Game,
like venison and
venison is a great pairing. If you're doing a red wine sauce, serving a glass of chilled LBV with your venison can be a good idea. Also, if you have cranberry sauces, it can make the connection between the port and the meat. And the most maybe the most nicest and intriguing one I've had was with the Mexican mole, which is a dish that incorporates chocolate. So yes, you use cocoa, a cocoa sauce.
Yeah. That's a great idea. I've never thought of that. And can it cope with a bit of spice?
Nice
can it cope with a bit of chili pepper heat?
Yes, for sure. Yes, the sweetness will bring down the heat of the chili. Yes,
that's brilliant. What a load of great suggestions. Thank you so much. Yeah, really, really enjoyable. Incredible value again for an amazingly high quality wine. Thanks so much, Anna, and happy Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. Feliz Natal.
Have a good one.
Cheers.
Wow. Okay, so we're 3 down and 3 to go. How am I doing for time? Okay, I think. We're into the red ports now. We're going to our next one, and we have Robert Bauer from Taylor's Port. Hello, Robert.
Hi, Susie. How are you?
I'm having a great time. How are you?
Yes, I've been listening to some of Anna's comments, and I think her idea of mole with a fruity port is something that I highly recommend.
That's a brilliant
I've had many
trips
to Mexico, seriously. And it's a perfect match.
You concur? Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's new on me. So you are marketing director of Taylor's Port. I'm sure lots of people, well, everyone has heard of Taylor's. I've been lucky enough to come and visit you quite recently up in the Douro. We have a really special wine here. We're going to do 2 wines from you, but we're going to start with the Taylor's Sentinel Vintage Port 2023. So this is different this evening in that we have a much younger wine here. Can you tell us all about the Sentinel, which is fairly new release, isn't it?
Yeah, so the Sentinel Vintage is a brand new release that we've put into the market. Traditionally, we've always had a single vineyard vintage port. And so we've always had Quinta de Vergeles, and we've also had Quinta de Terrafeta. And what we've decided to do is copy another port brand. So there's nothing wrong with copying a good idea, which is there's a Fonseca Guimarães, it's a blend of vineyards. And we're doing something quite similar with some Taylor's vineyards. So we can bring the various elements from these 4 vineyards together to make an even more complex vintage port. So this is made from Quinta de Terrafeta, Quinta de Junco, Quinta de Ervilha, and Quinta de Casanova. And you can get
4 vineyards, 4 estates,
4 vineyards, 4 vineyards,
all go into the Sentinel.
Now you have the higher elevation of Ervilha and Casanova, bringing this, lovely freshness of fruit and aromatics and mint notes you get in your vintage port here. But then you can get some of that plumminess from Quinta de Terrafeta, which is lower down in the valley. You're getting a little bit more heat there. So put together 4 vineyards, this has been a real eye-opener to the wine industry, because they're not used to seeing a vintage port so expressive when it's quite young. Where normally classic vintages, this is a non-classic year, tend to be quite closed when you release them into the market, and this is very expressive. And I think this is because we're blending from so many different vineyards. And also another factor is the quality of the spirit being much higher than we traditionally used 30 years ago. So, my family are Yatemans from Taylor, Fladgate and Yateman. So we've been doing it for 8 generations. And I remember tasting young vintage port with my father in the 80s, and they were quite hot on release. And when you try this wine here, the alcohol is very well integrated. And you just get this lovely fruit flavors showing. And this is the major change that we've had, is the quality of the spirit. So you can drink these vintages young. You don't have to wait 10 years for the spirit to integrate with the wine. But this will evolve in the cellar.
So you can. So just maybe slightly trade talk here, but where it sits with, you have Taylor's Vintage, which is only released in particular years. And now the Sentinel is sitting alongside it as a vintage from 4 different estates that you can drink when it's younger.
It's younger. I would say so. You have a classic. The objective of the winemaker is to make a classic vintage every year. Unfortunately, he has something called the weather to deal with.
Doesn't work like that.
Yes, they're great winemakers, but they can only do so much with the weather. And so when the weather pattern in the whole region is absolutely fantastic, they can make a very big, complex vintages from all of their vineyards blended together. When there is rain at the wrong time, or it's too hot, too cool, they will then not be able to blend all their vineyards together, and they will then reanalyze their vintages that they made by foot treading, and they'll say, right, which of these are exceptional, and they will release these as a non-classic vintage port. And these wines are slightly lighter. They won't age the 80 years of a classic vintage. They'll probably last about 60 years, but they are also a little bit more approachable.
Yeah, I think it's, I mean, I've been at this game for quite a long time, and I think that is an exceptional quality to this, that I can tell the complexity, I can tell the usefulness. But as you say, a lot of vintage ports that are young, even, you know, older than this, but still relatively young, are very tannic, very closed, almost towards being a bit bitter. And this is very generous.
I know.
It's already quite opened up.
And I think the wonderful advantages from a commercial point of view is, you know, it allows you, when you're young, you want to start a cellar. It's quite difficult, you know, sort of, you know, to have a classic vintage port from a great house like Taylor's, and also Anna from Noval, from Henry Graham's. The classic vintages can be quite expensive, but these non-classics, these non-classics allow you to get into vintage port, age it in your cellar without that financial impact. And so I will have generally more non-classic at home, so I can open that every weekend with friends. When I have some friends who really appreciate the wine,
some better friends,
you know, Susie, when you're over, you know, we'll open some classics. So I think, you know, having both in your cellar means you can be a little bit freer.
It's giving the flexibility. I totally understand that, but I'm just loving that very fresh flavor. That lovely, there's a bit of violet going on there for me, and some lovely lifted red fruits, plums,
cherries, yes.
Yeah, really lively. And I mean, there's a real vibrancy to it. It's really, really alive, really vivacious to me.
Yeah, and sort of, and you know, since we've released this in the market, I mean, I'm based here in Portugal, and since I've been bringing it into the market in Portugal, it's turned a lot of heads. And I've had people who've been great vintage consumers, and they say, I normally never touch my vintage young, but I'm loving this. So, you know, this has been a real, you know, break to the norm, and I think for the better for it. You know,
and just to be clear, this is only the second release, the second year. This Sentinels, it's a really new product. I shouldn't say product, cuvée, and it was first produced last year.
Last year, the 2022, and we called it the Sentinels because, you know, on the side of the label, it's hard to see on my picture because of the background, but there is a picture of the granite pillars that are planted by the Marquês de Pombal around the Douro Valley to mark the sort of the best areas of the vineyard, the Marcos de Feitoria, and he planted around 352 of these granite lagars and granite stones. And because all of these vineyards are in this special zone, we decided to use the English term for these granite pillars, Sentinels.
That's lovely. Yeah, it's a lovely image that conjures up, I think. So you're hoping people will buy this and drink it young, but I guess you're also hoping that people will age it, and it will be fascinating because we can meet again in 10, 20, 30, if we're spared, years' time.
If we're truly fortified, we'll age well.
You don't know yet, do you? How it's
we don't. But, you know, there's got a lot of acidity there. There are some very good tannins there. So this will age well. And I think the advantage here is we're using the minimum of 6 grape varietals. So, you know, we're still using Tinta Amarela in our blends. We're still using Tinto Cão to a huge amount to give that lovely acidity. You know, there's Tinta Barroca, Trega Francesa, Tinto Rouge, Touriga Nacional. So we're using a minimum of 6 grape varietals. And, if you talk to David, he's all about more grape
David
varieties.
Guimaraes, the
Yes.
winemaker. Yeah.
Yes. So, he says, yes, it does make viticulture more complicated, but you make something more complex. And so more grape varieties, and foot treading is very important. Co-fermenting grape varietals for more expression of your grapes is something that he leads, and he makes his life very difficult. But I think you see the results in his vintage ports.
And I think no one should ever suggest that the Douro doesn't support innovation, because Taylor's, your group of port houses is certainly always pushing the boundaries while respecting a lot of the traditions as well. But it doesn't stand still there, does it, in the Douro?
No, and I think this comes from the attitude of always looking outside for new ideas. We know we don't have the monopoly on good ideas here in Portugal, so we do travel a lot to see what's happening out there, and we bring those ideas back to Portugal whenever we can.
And you do that personally, do you? You're traveling around the world selling port to...
Yeah, so I travel far too much for my family's liking, but yes, I love doing it. Port wine is one of the great wines of the world. It's got this complexity. Anna has given some wonderful examples of its versatility with food. I've been to steakhouses with their savory sauces, and it's actually worked better than table wines that can sometimes be a little bit too alcoholic for the meal. But this with blue vein cheeses is wonderful. But also, I always say, good friends. When you open a bottle of vintage port, with friends around the table, it lubricates great conversation.
Yes,
every time.
I'm not a Puritan about when I drink and what I drink, but I do think a good bottle of port should always be opened in company.
Yes. And with vintage port, you sort of pointed out you had the stopper cork for vintage. So I always call this the friendly cork, because not only is this an aging cork, but when you open this, the wine generally hasn't seen oxygen. So you should drink it quite quickly with friends. So, when you see this cork, so have some friends round to enjoy the port. If you see the sort of the stopper cork,
stopper type,
from an aged tawny, that's the one my wife loves the most, because she doesn't need me to drink the bottle. Because that it's fine for 6 to 8 weeks. We'll
get on to tawnies in a minute, but I'm fascinated to ask you, as someone who's an ambassador long in the port trade, what is it about the UK's long love affair with port? We love port in this country. It obviously, to some extent, goes back to the people that started making it, who often came from Scotland in particular. But we still love port in this country, don't we?
I think the English love port because it's so readily available. So I do travel the world, and the selection that the UK market has for port wine is some of the best in the world. And I think that really helps. And you've always got very good prices there. But I've been to places like Boise, Idaho, in the US, and I've had somebody looked very similar from a cowboy come up to me with a bottle of 63 vintage port.
Really?
I've been to
so
all
out
parts.
Of context.
I've been to all parts of the world, and you'd be amazed that they're all drinking port wine. Australia is a little bit difficult. They have their own fortifieds.
They make their own port.
Yes. But in New Zealand, Portuguese ports are the number one ports over there, and they have a lot of fortifieds from Australia. Yet, we sell 3 times more than the Australian fortifieds. So it's a very versatile product.
Yeah, brilliant. Good to hear. So talking versatility, let's move on to your second wine, which is our wine number 5, which is the Taylor's 10-year-old Tawny. So we're now moving from 2 red ports to the first of our 2 tawnies. Robert, can I ask you to explain the difference? I can do it, but it'd be better coming from you.
Yes, no.
Between a red port and a tawny port.
Yeah, so the red ports, I would say, are the fruity ports where effectively oxygen has been kept away from the wine to some extent to protect the fruit and the color. Here, we've put it into smaller barrels, around 600 liters in size. So, like the barrels behind me, and by giving them more surface area, we're giving them more contact with oxygen. And this wine used to taste like the vintage port, but the flavors have been converted by oxygen to the lovely dried fruit flavors, those dried figs, dried apricots. They start to
They
get,
really are different creatures, aren't they? To my mind, and
as table wine is red and white, port is either fruity or it's nutty.
and this is
And it
nutty.
depends on the dish.
This is slumbered in oak. I keep saying slumber, but anyway, slumbered in oak cask for a long time. I always think it's a bit like a pebble bouncing around on a beach. All the sharp edges have been knocked off by time and tide, and so you have this incredible smoothness.
And I think that's what I love about it, and the length on the palate. So a 10-year-old is, I think, the perfect entry point into the tawny ports, and in this with Christmas pudding, a manchego cheese. I think works very well. Anything with some caramel, cinnamon notes in there. Taylor's 10-year-old is a perfect match.
Really versatile, and I've paired it with a kind of nutty desserts and coffee flavored desserts and toffee flavored desserts, anything like that.
Yeah, it's sort of a tiramisu in Italy with the Taylor 10-year-old.
The Italians will shriek, but yes.
Yes, I'm married to one, so yes.
She's shrieking. So this is an average of 10 years aging in oak before it's bottled.
Yeah, so I mean, the way you do it is you make the wine 10 years ago, and it goes into a small cask. Every year, you will empty all the casks. So behind me, you'll see several layers of barrels behind me. You'll empty the barrels. You'll put them into an empty vat for all those barrels to merge. So that's why they all taste the same. You will then analyze it to see how it's evolving. If it's evolving well, you don't touch it. You put it back into the clean barrels, and it continues. So if you find that your 6-year-old tawny is evolving too fast or too slow, you can correct it by adding a little bit of an older or younger tawny to it.
Okay.
So the idea is it arrives at 10-year-old or 20-year-old in the style of the year, either 10 or 20 or 30, but also in the style of the house. So you do have to manage it. And this racking is something that is very important for aged tawnies, because it gives oxygen to the wine. The wine likes oxygen, so racking every year keeps the wine vibrant.
Can you just define racking for people that don't know that?
So you pull the bung out from one of the barrels, it free flows into a bucket, and from that bucket you will then pump it into an empty vat. And so this racking process, it's very important.
Taking it out of one container and into another, which aerates it to some degree.
It aerates it. You don't add a tube to it and just pump it into the vat. This falling into a bucket, aerating it, is very, very important. And if you stop doing that, if it's a family barrel and no one's racking it, the wines do become tired. So the racking is very important. And you notice on our Taylor's 10, it's vibrant, it's vivacious, it's not sweet, it's not sickly sweet.
Again, the acidity is there, and the acidity has been so important in all the wines we've had. And I'm picking up a very slight salinity as well on the finish. Yes. But let's talk about the different flavors here, because whereas we had all the fruits, we were talking about blackberries and cherries, and with our two reds, we're now into, as you say, nuttiness and more of a raisin dried fig. It's it's dried fruits, isn't it?
That's right.
And a little bit of orange and caramel and I'm going to say raisins because they're there as well. It's an extraordinary mouthful of very different flavors. I think in wine we often talk about primary fruit, don't we? And the red ports have more primary fruit, and I think this has more of a secondary cooked fruit and dried fruit.
Dried fruit, and that exists more in the 10-year-old, which is why sort of for a Christmas cake, probably a 10-year-old works better.
Yeah.
You know, I always say the Tawnies are like my father. The older he gets, the nuttier he becomes. So you know, as you go to the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s and 50s, and even the VVOPs, you start losing that dried fruit,
very old,
and that nuttiness will become much stronger. And I think you'll see that with the next port.
Totally agree. When you get into the world of tawny ports, which I'm fully immersed in, I have to say, you need to choose. Well, I mean, you can choose to like them all, but a lot of people will choose a particular age that they like. And quite a lot of people stick at 10 or stick at 20 and don't want to go to 30 and 40-year-old because they all have these age brackets on them, don't they? Because they like the freshness of the younger wines. And some people will go to the very venerable ancient ones.
I do know that people have their specific. I mean, I love the 20-year-olds, you know, but I on purpose make sure that I open something different because our taste buds will stop tasting. We need to be picking up a Fino sherry. We need to be picking up a Madeira. We need to be picking up a 10-year-old. We need to be picking up a vintage port. You know, we need to have a little bit of variety in our lives.
I will and do. Now we've chosen to suggest this is chilled, I think, but people don't have to at all. I think personally, I wouldn't have it in a hot room. I'd have it in a cool room or from the fridge. In the summer, I drink tawny port from the fridge. What about you? What temperature do you like it?
Yes, no, I for the vintage port, I don't chill it too much. I keep it around 16 degrees. But for the aged tawnies, I'll go from 12 to 15 degrees, a much chiller. I do actually drink more aged tawnies and the dry white ports in the summer. Right. So because, you know, if you chill a fruity port down too much, it will dumb down.
Yeah, and the tannins don't work when it's cold, do they?
Exactly. The 10-year-old and the 20-year-olds and they're concentrated wines, so they'll punch through at a lower temperature. So you know these wines definitely can be chilled in the summer. That's not a problem.
And it's definitely not just for. I mean, I totally agree. This would go with mince pies and Christmas cake and Christmas pud, but cool. It's wonderful on if we get a hot summer's evening, it's fabulous.
Well, I look after New Zealand and Australia as well, and they're all in shorts at the moment, and they're all drinking, you know, chilled 10s and 20s at the moment. So it's perfect for a summer Christmas as well.
Yeah, a dog is not just for Christmas, and neither is a tawny port. We've got a couple of people commenting. George says, I was worried about having a 2003 Taylor's on Christmas Day as it's still a baby, but the Sentinel, is 20 years younger and lovely, so feeling more relaxed now.
No, I think, you know, George, you can definitely have the 2023 now. It's free, but I will admit that we've just drank the Taylor 2003 at the factory house, and it is showing very, very well. So
you're all right, George.
You're all right. You can invite more friends round, and you can open both bottles.
And Finbar is saying an excellent tawny 10-year-old coffee mocha. Yeah, we didn't mention that.
The mocha, yes.
Cocoa. Dessert is obvious, but how about Waitrose? Other supermarkets are available. Emmental and cheddar souffles.
That's a very good suggestion. That's a very good suggestion.
I like some of these very different suggestions tonight. I thought of that. I mean, cheese and port is.
No, I mean cheddar and sort of, you know, mature cheddars with a 10-year-old actually can go quite well. Unfortunately, we don't get that many mature cheddars over here in Portugal, so you guys have much more fun than we do.
Us in the West Country, we do.
Yeah, but we have the Serra da Estrela cheese over here, which goes very well with vintage.
I bet it does. And I mean, to be honest, a very lazy way to finish supper, dinner, party, or whatever is, if you don't want to make dessert, is just to have a bottle of tawny. And then I put really good dark chocolate out, nuts, dried figs, raisins, you know, all that kind of, just a board of that sort of thing and a bottle of tawny, and people are very happy.
Yes, no, it's an easy go-to wine, an aged tawny. you know, the vintage ports, sometimes it does require some work, especially if it's, I find vintage over 10 years will need decanting. The sediment will be quite small, so you will need to really fold a cheesecloth, have a very good filter. After 20 years, it clumps up and it's easier to filter, but it will need decanting. But we all love that. And if for show, you can also try tonging the vintage port, where you get hot tongs.
Don't. Terrible. That's when you get hot tongs to take the top of it off.
Yeah, so you heat the glass.
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, nothing goes wrong. It's very useful to encourage family members to leave at 2 o'clock in the morning.
There is that, yes. So Magda is asking, how often, I mean, per year, would you do this type of racking with a tawny?
Every year. Every year you have to rack all of your wines. So this is one of the things that we've been doing, is focusing on port wine for the last 30 years, and only recently going into table wine, is so we can increase our aged tawny stocks for the future. We see aged tawnies growing in their popularity, and we need to have stocks to maintain that complexity, and so we don't have to thin the blend. So we are racking about 14 Olympic-sized swimming pools of stocks.
Wow.
It's a full job. So we have a site in the Douro where all they're doing is racking, cleaning.
Well, plenty for us to look forward to then. Thank you so much, Robert. You've got a brilliant job, by the way.
It's a tough job, but you know, sort of, I'm happy that I have some of the best colleagues in the industry. You know, we all play to win, but you know, after we stop working, you know, I'm
all
at
go to the factory house, and
we all go to the factory house. You know,
the
we're all good
restaurant
friends.
a club in Porto, for those that don't know.
I really do have the best people in the industry to work with, so I'm very grateful for that.
Well, you're certainly a very friendly bunch. Just a quick one before I move on to Henry. Kieran says, how do you define a tawny port? I think that this is what was being said about a port that is kept in oak barrels for a much, much longer time.
Yeah, so it's a tawny port is a wine that's been stored in a smaller barrel. And from a taste profile, it's started to pick up more of those caramel, dried fruit characteristics, and nutty characteristics. And it does actually have a tawny color.
Tawny by name, tawny by, by the way it looks too. And I think, thank you very much, Robert. We're going to move on to Henry now and do our last port, which is a 20-year-old tawny port. So we're still in the realm of the tawnies. Kieran, I hope that made sense, and you're going to learn more about tawnies now. Hi, Henry from Graham's.
Hello, how are you? How are you, Susie? Thanks, Robert.
Really having a great time. How are you?
I'm very well. I've gone round for dinner at my mother's house, and she has made freshly baked mince pies, which are going extraordinarily well.
Superstar. Just to go with, specifically to go with this. Yeah. So we've learned about tawnies, but this is a full 10 years older. I'm just dragging the bottle over. 10 years older. Look, mine's empty. What can I tell you? 10 years older than the previous one. So we're going to look at the, different port house, but also a difference in age, because it's 20 years old. We've learned about how tawny ports are made. Tell us about 20-year-old as a category.
Yeah, 20-year-old is, Robert actually forgot to mention this, but the big difference, I think, with a 10 and a 20 is for a 10-year-old, you've lost about 22% of the original liquid, give or take. And then a 20-year-old, you're looking at 40%. So the first big thing is mouthfeel.
40%?
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that's why a lot of these port houses were all family businesses. So, you know, you've got this similar to the whiskey trade, something called the angel share. So these small port pipes that Robert's just been talking about, they obviously allow this wine, and water and alcohol evaporate at the same time, so we're not going up in alcohol. And this is also this magic melding of flavors, and it's these port pipes, these barrels. I often like to say that tawny ports are made in the lodge, the terroir of the lodge, rather than the vineyards themselves. And we have all of our barrels are sort of 80 to 100 years old. We've got about 3,500 casks just in the Graham's 1890 lodge. And we're lucky enough to have one of the last port houses to have our in-house cooperage. So there's a full cooper team that will go along. I know, it's lovely, with this little hammer banging on the barrels, listening for a leak, and doing repairs. So they will literally,
not a lot of that going on anymore at cooperages. I mean, that's amazing.
I know. We're very lucky. Well, we obviously have other port houses as well. The Symingtons do, to sort of keep them going. There's five in the team. But they'll take a barrel apart and number the staves up, repair the hole, and then put the staves back together with the iron rims around the side.
There's a skill that's I hope not dying out at your port house anyway. Yes,
yeah, we've put some murals up in Porto on the trams and things. So if anyone's there, you can kind of see some of our.
Oh, really? They can see it.
Yeah,
brilliant. Cool. So Graham's obviously another incredibly revered port house. We've got really fine names here tonight. So thank you so much. A different shaped bottle for this. Is that saying something about? Is that just for the
20? We were the first port house to put 20 ports. Well, actually started off with Wars with the Osma in 06, 07, and then we moved it to Graham's in transparent bottles, because we feel people want to know what's in it. What is 20 ports? It's this lovely, I've got a bottle here, this lovely golden color, and people want to see the amazing color that comes from these wines. Sorry, my charger is about to run out.
So I'm tasting this. Sorry, go on. I don't want to interrupt you. You've got all your props there.
Joys of these old work laptops. Their batteries are rubbish. But it's this lovely color, and that's why we obviously serve in a tube. If you're buying it from an independent wine shop or from a supermarket or elsewhere, we put it in the tube to avoid light strike. Obviously, when you're in a transparent bottle,
we should say that this comes in a beautiful gift. Tube, a cardboard tube. It's fancier than that sounds, and so great as a present. I mean, that makes it good gifting this time of year as well. But 20 years old, so 20 years slumbering. I said it again, in the oak barrels, and to me, you get this. It's even more mellow. And you get a kind of real smoothness, very rich, very smooth. And I get a lovely, fresh kind of orange streak going through this. And it is nutty and it is caramelly. And there is a kind of, all those kind of spices, Christmas spices, sweet spices, just starting, it's a bit of cinnamon and a bit of clove. But there's this wonderful acidity on the finish and this great smoothness.
Yeah, I mean, the Graham's, obviously all of these port houses obviously have their own personalities or styles. Graham's is known for this richness, this opulence. There's a joke amongst certain wine critics of Graham's glycerol, just to the big mouthfeel.
Graham's glycerol, okay.
Not just across the tawnies, but the vintages as well. It will be normally the most, sort of in its youth, the most exotic and perfumed often out of the ports.
But it is balanced, because when I'm finishing, the finish on that has an extraordinary acidity and a slight spiciness that makes my mouth water. So the impression at the end is not glycerol and cloying sweetness at all. It's a kind of lift, a kind of mouth cleansing experience.
No, exactly. And that's something that when Charles Symington, the head winemaker for Graham's, took over from his father Peter, something he wanted to really work on was that length and that finish and that fresh acidity. He really sort of recognized the power of tawnies for food pairing. So we do a lot. I'm based in the UK, and we do a lot with 4.5 litre bottles, Renner Bowens, in a lot of the on-trade accounts in the UK. And obviously seeing these big 4.5 litres coming around on a cheese trolley or with pudding, or even as an aperitif with things like foie gras or pâtés, or chicken liver mousses and things.
Someone mentioned foie gras earlier, but that's kind of come about now. And also you've released an 80-year-old. I know other port houses have.
You were lucky enough to try it.
Very recently tried yours in October at an event in Bristol. An 80-year-old port.
Yeah, it's those are, Robert briefly mentioned, obviously we've got our 40 and 50 as well. These are really, really special wines. They're very rare.
And they were made during the Second World War.
Yeah, so a lot of the wines that went into our 80-year-old blend were wines from the 1940s. So the year that Charles's father, Peter Symington, was born in 44. So a lot of wines that were made even before he was born. And these are big wines. And to be honest, an 80-year-old is something that really maybe only a cigar is the only thing you might, if you are a smoker, would be the kind of pairing you'd want to have with that.
I don't
and you
want
don't need
anything with
much.
that. I just want to. I mean, we had tiny samples. Obviously, these bottles are incredibly rare, but it was the freshness that amazed me. That at 80 years old, it still had the freshness on the finish.
Yeah, I mean, Robert briefly mentioned the racking is so important. It's the other thing to mention when he was talking about that is that the barrels, or at least at Graham's, we clean them. So we're cleaning out the sediment, tartrate crystals. That's avoiding that kind of rancio effect that you sometimes get with Madeira. So to keep that fruit nice and fresh, very, very important, particularly as these tawnies really age and get nuttier and nuttier. That's super important.
Can we just clear up something so everyone's really clear on it? Once this is bottled, it's not going to mature a lot more, is it? I mean, if you were given this 20-year-old and you put it away for 10 years, which would be a mistake, but anyway, would it change very much, or is it stable?
It's pretty stable. I mean, it will obviously every year Charles Symington is bottling, or whoever from each other other wineries is bottling a 20-year-old tawny, and every year it needs to taste the same. And once open, 6 to 8 weeks. But yeah, I mean, if you're waiting 10, 15 years, you will be losing freshness. And if you tried a 2024 bottling, which is what I've got, versus maybe something from 2014, you'd be able to notice, lost a little bit of freshness.
To generalize, am I generalizing horribly when I say that the red ports in general will improve or certainly stay good with age before opening, but the tawnies kind of are better drunk once bought?
Yeah, by and large, I mean, it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking, most consumers are looking for some freshness. So I think drinking a little bit younger is a nice thing to do. And I think for a lot of people coming to tawnies now are looking for food pairings. A lot of younger people are looking for, I'm 27, so I've got quite a lot of young friends, so into tawnies. And I bought a.
You're possibly younger than some of the wines that we're drinking.
Yeah, that often does happen, unfortunately.
No, you have many years to enjoy these as they get older. But basically, if you're buying or given a bottle of tawny, it's ready to drink now, and it probably won't benefit from long aging.
No, they're frozen in time. The big thing, I mean, the classic thing I say with port is if you've ever got a sort of a capsule, a T-bar cork, a stopper, they're not getting any better. So it's only when you've got those driven corks that you had with
because there's no exchange of air with that.
Exactly. That's just frozen in time. And obviously and the idea is you can put it back in the bottle. So the idea is you can drink it over a few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly not as fragile as table wines, are they? Because the spirit and the sugar,
and the oxidation as well,
act as preservatives, and the oxidation. So there's three factors going on that preserves the wine better once opened than a table wine, a dry table wine.
And I guess the other big thing about to talk about with tawnies as well is where they're aged. So Graham's were lucky enough to have this amazing lodge right up on the top of the hill, overlooking Porto. The lodge was built in 1890, the same year that we acquired Malvedos, Quintos Malvedos, one of our key vineyards.
Absolutely.
And it's big granite walls, big airy ceilings, earthen floors. So only about 3.5 kilometers from the Atlantic Ocean, with those lovely coastal breezes. And in the summer, when it gets a little bit warmer in Porto, you can wet the earthen floors to keep the humidity up a bit.
Yeah,
that's really important. That's the key thing about tawnies. It's why we're not aging in the Douro when it's jolly hot in the summer.
So you're going down near the sea for the humidity.
Exactly, the humidity, the cooler temperatures, and obviously traditionally it was to ship the port out to wherever you were taking it. But also there's that beneficial side from the Morao Mountains, which act as a weather front, so that all the rain is dropped on the Porto side. So famously, it rains more in Porto than Manchester.
And you used to have to drive all the way around those mountains to get to the Douro. So it was very hard to do it in a short trip. But now there's a tunnel through the mountains.
There's a nice EU tunnel
from Porto to the Douro much more quickly. I know.
And it's quite fun. The first time I was lucky enough to go to the Douro would have been 3 years ago now. Charlotte Symington took me through the tunnel in her battered Land Rover, and she said, "Look at the thermometer." And she said, "It's not accurate, but just look at it." And we went up 4 degrees centigrade from one side of the tunnel to the other.
Oh, really?
Just to give you a sense of like temperature, And then obviously you go from the back of Cork all the way up to Sima and Douro Superior, and it just gets drier.
You're into the heat and the aridity, and it's a remarkable landscape. And then only a bit further north, you've got Vino Verde, where it rains a lot, and they make ritzy white wines. There's Portugal.
Exactly.
Magda is saying, this is lovely, having a glass of the 20-year-old Grahams from one of those huge bottles you just mentioned. Wow, lucky you. On your terrace, looking at that historic Luís Bridge last year was definitely one of the highlights of our trip to Porto last December. 20 years bracket is her sweet spot.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, you've got that lovely blend of still a bit of youthful fruit coming through. Then you've got that sort of nuttiness. You get a bit more nuts coming through from the 10.
So why do some people move to 30 or 40 or even 80 years? 80 is expensive, but anyway.
Yeah. I met we've actually reblended our 40-year-old and now with our 50-year-old. And it's really interesting how I've been going out and trade a lot with our old 40-year-old, with our new 40-year-old. And it's really interesting how we have made our new 40-year-old blend a lot more elegant, a lot more lifted. The acidity's higher. Really interesting. And it makes it even better for food pairing.
That is interesting, because I remember quite a long time ago when the 40, 30 and particularly 40-year-olds were very concentrated. So some people like them more, but they didn't have the freshness of the 10 and 20.
Yeah, they've got a really lovely delicateness, and the travel is really amazing with our new 40-year-old. It doesn't drop away at all. It just continues through and builds really in a really lovely way, and it's very softly spoken. Sort of that, it's a bit of a cliche, but our new 40-year-old is very much sort of like a an iron fist and a velvet glove. There's a real elegance to it.
I mean, Tawnies have that mellowness, don't they, that you don't really get in the Reds, but the Reds have power.
Owen's managed to have tried the 50-year-old as well, which is...
Oh, yes, Owen, Graham's 50-year-old is incredible. Lucky enough to have a glass of a large bottle gifted to Jancis to celebrate 50 years of wine writing a few weeks ago.
Owen, I actually delivered that bottle to her flat.
Oh, my goodness.
So there's a link up there.
I didn't get that invitation. It got lost in the post.
I didn't get invited.
Finbar is saying this should be served slightly chilled. And I mean, I agree. I always have Tawnies slightly chilled.
No, I agree. I agree too. And you can, I think the 20-year-olds, it's a different beast to a 10-year-old, but I think you can still really pair it with some savory dishes. I've been playing around with a bit of mac and cheese and lasagna.
Oh my goodness! So, hang on, mac and cheese. This is new as well.
Yeah. Okay. So I recently did a blue cheese tasting with this chap, and I got a lot of blue cheese after the end. We decided Cachal Bleu from Tipperary was our favourite with the Graham's 20-year-old. So I've been experimenting a lot with blue cheese mac and cheese. And equally, my girlfriend cooks a lot of Shanghainese, and there's a famous sort of sweet pork dish that goes really, really well.
Sweet pork.
Sugar. Yeah, so it's sort of sugar and dark and light soy sauce. You kind of simmer it right down. It's a real delicacy in Shanghai, and that works really well with Tawnies.
That's really interesting too. We've had some really brilliant food matching tips. I mean, things that are quite new to me tonight, which is great. But just to finish on this note, I know some people will want us to finish on time, but it is Christmas. I know port isn't just for Christmas. We've touched on that already. But these are incredibly versatile with Christmas food, aren't they? With everything from the salted nuts and the dried fruit through to, what people have talked about, the meats. But when you are having your Christmas pudding and your mince pies and your whatever, some of these are just fabulous, Tawnies in particular.
Yeah, and I'd highly recommend, my mother has been doing this for a few years. She actually runs a little bit of orange zest through the pastry, which for our Graham's 20-year-old, I think particularly this bottling has a real lovely orange.
What, lemon zest in the mince pie?
Yeah, orange zest in the pastry itself. She'll roll through some orange. And that works really well. And I suppose, lastly, it would be remiss of me not to mention. I suppose we've all kept quiet a little bit as producers about this, but next year it looks like it's going to be quite an exciting year in the Douro as well for what's going to be released next year as well. There's inklings occurring. So
can you embellish on that?
I'm afraid I'm dropping a seed, Susie, but it's based off a previous harvest. That is yet to be sort of fully confirmed by the IBDP.
Okay, so I'll do a deal with you. We'll meet again this time next year online, and you can
in the spring. But it's looking really promising. And for those that don't know, we haven't had a classic vintage port declaration since 2017. So that would have been
very
released in
long gap.
2019. So it's been a while. Graham's and Wars did a sort of a mini one in 2020 for the 200th and 350th anniversary of those houses. But as a whole region, we haven't had anything.
No, I was aware of that when I was there in September, that there hadn't been a declaration for a universal declaration for a long time.
So we're quite excited about next year, potentially. So yet to be confirmed, but yeah.
Well, thank you. That's a really positive note and intriguing to end on. Thank you so much to everyone. It's so lovely to talk to all you different people from the various quintas, bodegas, an amazing array of wines, incredible intensity of flavors and aromas and just finishes. It's, these wines linger so long on a fairly dark, gloomy December evening. It's a complete thrill. So thank you all of you very much, and happy Christmas to everybody, and keep drinking port and sherry.
Thank you.
I will see you again soon.
Thanks everyone. Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
And great ports and cherries.
Christmas starts here, actually. It starts now.
So do the producers meet up later?
That would be a great idea.
I wish.
See you later.
See you. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, everyone. Happy Christmas. Good night.
To my colleagues.